Hello and welcome to The Rest is Football with me, Gareth Lineker, Micah Richards and Alan Shearer. And in this episode, we're joined by a special guest. That special guest is Conor Coady, who we've all enjoyed watching over many years now. His playing career, and he's now at the Mighty Foxes at Leicester City. So that's not the only reason we've had him on. I think one of the future stars, possibly, of punditry. I've really enjoyed his performances when he's been on Sky on occasions and elsewhere. And he's had, of course, a fabulous career, and that career continues. So, Conor, firstly, good morning, and thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be on, and I wouldn't say special guest, I'll be honest. I'll just say just guest.
No, we'll call you special guest for now, and then we'll judge it at the end.
I can tell you by the end it won't be special.
Even Big Meeks has come back, especially from Vegas. We're recording this a couple of days after his return, so forgive him if he breaks down at some point. But he seems all right. He's recovered. And he's drinking tea now, I can see, and in the picture.
I'm drinking tea.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not feeling great, to be honest. I'm jet lagged. I'm hungover. Everything. But I'm here. I'm here for Big Conor. I'm here for you.
You don't look great either, Micah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. Did you meet Elvis?
Did you get married? That's more the point.
I didn't get married. No, I didn't get married. Well, not officially, no.
Not that you can remember.
We all felt like we were with him. He was flaunting it that much, didn't we?
Conor, let's take you back to the beginning. You grew up in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And you were a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
and you ended up being at Liverpool in your younger days. That must have been that was kind of been living the dream at the time.
Yeah, it was. Listen, like all of us, we all grew up supporting a team. We all grew up dreaming to play for that team. I think all of us on this podcast now will say the same thing. And I was no different as a kid. I was a huge Liverpool fan. I always was, from being born with my family and my dad and my mum and different things like that. So I think growing up and being in the academy at Liverpool, it was not just helping me as a player. Liverpool is a massive institution in terms of developing players and making players, and you still see it to this day now with the players who are coming through. So I was one of them lucky ones who come through there. And listen, I didn't play that many times for Liverpool, but I always said to myself that when I did, that nobody could take that away from me, and nobody could when I made my debut in the Europa League. So it was a special moment, but coming through was amazing. Like I said, being a Liverpool fan and playing for the football club was absolutely brilliant, and they helped me like you wouldn't believe how they made me as a person and not just as a player. It was fantastic to be there, yeah, and I loved every minute of it.
Were you always a defender, Conor? Were you like Micah and lots of defenders that you start further forward and then ease your way back?
Yeah. So no, I wasn't always a defender. No, I was always a midfielder by trade type of thing. I was always somebody who I couldn't run. I couldn't run then either.
That with a straight face. Whoa. You can't just say I was a midfielder. Was you a defensive midfielder? Was you an attacking midfielder? Because, yeah,
no,
a lot of
I wasn't an
questions.
attacking midfielder, mate. No. I think you can see that with our play now. I was never an attacking midfielder. I was always a defensive-minded midfielder. I was always somebody who could drop back and get on the ball and things like that. I didn't burst on the scene, that's for sure, to be fair. So, but no, I grew up a midfielder, yeah. I was always like a sitting midfielder, if you want to call it these days. That's how we play it now, isn't it? We play sitting midfielders and attacking midfielders and 8s and 6s and all this sort of thing. So I was always a number 6 kind of growing up, and it was only really when I hit about 25 that Nuno came into Wolves and decided to play me at the back. That was the first kind of time it happened. So growing up, yeah, I always played central midfield. I was always somebody who, like I do now, I always talk and I always try to organise. It was always something I tried to bring into my game from a young age. And yeah, it was a position I enjoyed. But as I get older, I realised it got harder. And there was more.
Micah, you've got some front. You've got some front trying to take the piss out of Conor. Where did you start your career, Micah? What position were you?
I was a number 9, of course I was.
Try and say that without laughing.
I was a number 9, and I dropped back to number 10. Then I was like a number 8. Then I was a number well, back in them days, the 4 was like sitting as well. I was holding midfield, and then I ended up at centre half, and then at right back by default. Honest to God.
And then you ended as back in those days at 12.
The bench, you mean, Alan? Get it right.
The bench.
Who were your heroes at that stage when you first kind of crept into the Liverpool squad? And you because similar with me, I was kind of ended up at my hometown club, Leicester, and all of a sudden you find yourself in the dressing room with your heroes. Who were yours?
Listen, growing up, I was a massive Steven Gerrard, Jamie Carragher fan. They were massive kind of heroes of mine, people I looked up to, people who were trying to model my game on a little bit, if I'm being honest. Listen, I could never model my game on Steven Gerrard, but there was always things in there with his character and how he led and how he done things. He was somebody who obviously epitomised Liverpool for myself growing up. So kind of getting into the first team and starting to train at Melwood kind of full-time and every day and be in the dressing room with them and learning from them, not just on the pitch, because someone like Steven Gerrard had all the qualities in the world. Not everybody has what he has, and he's an incredible footballer. But just kind of seeing how he trained, how he worked, how he held himself off the pitch, what he'd done kind of as a professional player, it helped me like you wouldn't believe, kind of going into my own career then, and I'm making something of myself. So that was something I always took on board. But them two were definitely kind of heroes of mine growing up, without a doubt.
How did he train, or they train?
It was non-stop. First and foremost, he always trained. I think that's a massive thing, even now, kind of being 30, 31 now, the age I'm at, and making sure you're always available to train. I think that's huge. I think it's a massive kind of trait, and I don't think enough people get enough credit for it. Being on the grass all the time, giving yourself the best chance to get better and learn and improve. So that was the first thing that I can say. They never ever missed a session. They were always out there, whether it was recovery days, whether it was training days, whether it was day before a game. They were always out there, and they trained at a maximum. They trained how they played. I think that was the biggest thing that I took from them, in terms of if you weren't on it, they were on you, no matter what. So if you was on their team and you weren't backing them up, or you weren't pressing, or you weren't tackling, or you pulled out of some sort of tackle, they was always beyond you. So just training how they played, I think, was a massive part of it as well.
Conor, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, but because you're saying that's a massive thing because of the training. Does that mean, or am I jumping to conclusion here, that you've perhaps seen a shift in attitudes over the years in terms of from when you first started out to now in your 30s, or nearly 31?
Yeah, without a doubt, mate. I think it's something where I think we can all probably sit here and say football's changed a little bit from kind of the days previous when I first started, maybe even before that. I think football's changed a lot. And listen, we can talk about the fixture schedule, and there's more games, there's more this, there's more that. But I think it's an art in itself to make sure you're prepared every single day, to make sure you're ready to play football every day. The career that we have isn't long. You guys will tell me the same thing as well, is that it's not a long career. So I think you've got to squeeze as much out of it as you possibly can, especially when you're not kind of one of them elite players, one of them players who are playing in every competition, every single game. I think it's important you squeeze as much out of it as you possibly can. So I think it's so important to make sure you're available every single day, to show the managers, to show the people at the club that you're ready to play and you're ready to help each other every single week.
I suppose in many ways you've gone from the position of looking up to players now looking up to you in terms of setting that example.
Yeah, and I think it's something, I don't think like that. I'll be honest, I don't think like that as a person. I try and set examples every day with how I kind of hold myself, how I behave, how like I said, how I'm ready for training every single day, and then how you go onto the training pitch. And I always go back to kind of when I was growing up, coming through kind of at Liverpool and getting given the opportunity, and them things I was mentioning to you before about players training how they play on a weekend. I think it's important. I don't think you can play to your maximum on a weekend if you don't train like it through the week as well. So I don't go into training thinking, I'm going to be this or I'm going to be that for these players. I just try and be the best of myself every single day. And if people want to come and have a chat or ask me little things in training or whatever it may be, then they're more than welcome. I think I'm open enough to say that to people. So yeah, it's not something I tell myself in the morning. I just make sure I go and give the best of myself every day.
How difficult was it leaving your boyhood club? Liverpool was obviously very special to you. How difficult was it to go somewhere else? Yeah,
do you know what, mate? I get this question a lot, and
I never ask original questions, Conor.
when I give the answer of it wasn't that difficult because I was desperate to play footy. Do you know what I mean? I was desperate to play football, so I was lucky enough to go on a loan spell at Sheffield United in League One. It was amazing. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I played 50 games. We got to an FA Cup semi-final. We played at Wembley. Nothing was expected of us, and we went and had a season what was fantastic. And it was something where that made me a little bit. That made me realise how important it was, not just playing for points and things like that, but how important football was to people. If I didn't know it already, the feeling of being there and playing every single week and training and preparing for games, I loved the feeling of it. So to go back and then jump back into the 23s, I was realistic at Liverpool. There was some fantastic players in front of me, Steven Gerrard, Jordan Henderson, to name a few. So to go back and kind of put myself in that bracket, I wasn't ready for that. So I understood where I was at. I was realistic, but I was desperate to play football properly in front of crowds and playing proper. So when I got that opportunity to kind of go to Huddersfield, it was something that I jumped at just because of the desperation to play football, really.
Do you think if you'd have started at Liverpool possibly as a central defender, that things might have been different? Because you've just said to yourself, you came quite late to that particular role. Do you think things could have been different?
Yeah, maybe. To be honest, it's not something I've ever thought about, because I've loved my career and I've loved kind of everything I've done and how my career's panned out and how I've done it, and I've still got plenty to give now. And I look back and maybe that could have been the case, so 100%, and it could have been a little bit different. But it's something where, like I said, I look back on kind of what I've done over the last few years and how I've gone about it and how I've played and how I've trained, and I've loved every minute of it. So I think it might have been different. It could have been different maybe, but it's not something I've really thought about.
Yeah, it would have been different, definitely, because the modern day game now is, obviously you can defend, but you're really good on the ball. I know we have a laugh and a joke and all that, but the diags that you play, the forward passes that you put in as well, you definitely would have given you a more of an opportunity. It was just different. Football's always evolving, isn't it?
Without a doubt, Meeks. And I think it's something where I mentioned before about kind of being in the middle of the park. There's so many bodies, it's so fast, and there's bodies all around you. I'm not downplaying myself, but it's tough in there. It's really tough in there, and I completely agree. And I think football's evolved over the years, as you said, and I think it's getting harder and harder and harder. The players in the central midfield are getting more technical, they're getting more quick, they're getting more brave to receive the ball in tight areas. And you see now with the way kind of Pep's evolved the game with fullbacks coming inside. We do it at Leicester now. Obviously know with how we play, and we have Ricardo Pereira coming inside, and we play a boxing midfield, and all of a sudden you've gone from having 4-4-2 and 2 midfielders in there to now you've got 4. And then you're thinking about what the other team have got, so you may have 7 or 8 midfielders in the middle of the pitch from both teams. So the amount of bodies and everything in there, it's getting so tough. So whereas when you do drop back and you look at the game a little bit differently, everything's in front of you, you get a little bit more time to pick your passes. I love the position. I really enjoy being a little bit further back and enjoying it. And when Nuno done it, when, like I said, I was about 25, 26, I loved the feeling of it, to be fair. Yeah, it was totally different. How is
that? The other thing that's obviously changed is that nearly everyone, since Pep evolved things, everyone builds out from the back now, which I suppose brings defenders more into the game in terms of possession and being, but it also brings dangers with it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. So my debut this year, I was injured obviously at the start of the season, and obviously we've got Enzo now who's here, and it's literally like Manchester City. Honestly, like obviously he's brought his own style and his own way of doing things, and he's done brilliant. But in terms of way of playing, I watched a lot of Manchester City anyway, because I loved watching them, the incredible football team. But I watch even more of them now just to see if it's similar to what we do, and it's similar to how we do it, and everything we kind of do is the same. And I remember early on in the season we played at Anfield in my first game in the Carabao Cup, and obviously we're working. So when you go to Anfield, you guys will know they suffocate you. They're all over you, and you're trying to play off in the back, and it's hard. It's tough because the front three jump, then the midfield jump, and the back four on the halfway, and they suffocate the life out of you. But we're constant. We play off in the back. It doesn't change. No matter where you are, you could go and play at the Etihad, Anfield, wherever it is, Ellen Road this year, whatever it is, and you play out from the back. I remember receiving the ball off the keeper a few times, and I was under pressure a little bbit. And then as another goal kick came, I could hear someone in the crowd behind me going, "He's coming for you, Coady." I thought, oh no. I was panicking even more. So some Liverpool fan in the Anfield Road then. So it was just constant. But that's how we go about our business. That's what we do. And I think that's what football's become now, to play through thirds and create overloads and suck people into them, play through. There's so many ways of doing it. And like I said, Enzo's come in and done it very similar to City.
Who's been the biggest influence on your career, Conor?
In terms of managers, I'd say Nuno's been massive for me. Nuno was huge. Nuno And I say it to this day, mate, in terms of he changed my life. He changed my life as not just a footballer, but I think as a person, as a player. He gave me the opportunity to obviously play in an incredible team at Wolves in terms of what we were in the Championship and the team he built in the Championship. But then he gave me the opportunity to play in the Premier League, and then he gave me the opportunity to play for England and to do what I've done. And he was amazing for me, like I said, not just as a football player, but as a person as well. And I was going through that period when he first came in from about 25 to about 28, 29, where I think you define yourself in them years. I think that's when they're your big years of football, and they're kind of where you're going to be in your career and how you're going to do it. And he gave me the opportunity to do things that I dreamed of doing, but I never thought I did. And what he done for me was absolutely incredible. Not just for me, but the players around me at that time as well, and for the football club in terms of changing what he done at Wolves at that moment in time. I thought he was incredible, and he deserves all the credit he should get from Wolverhampton supporters and people within that football club, without a doubt.
What did you think when he first pulled you to one side and said, Conor, I want you to drop into a back three?
Do you know what, mate? He never really had that conversation with me. It was a strange one. So obviously, when a manager first comes in, you guys know what it's like. Knows what it's like as well. In terms of you thinking to yourself, "Oh, I want to be a massive part of it. I want to be involved. Is he going to like me? What's he going to think? How's he going to go about his business? This, that, and the other." So we came in the first couple of days. He was working one team with a back three and one team with a back four. So we didn't even think about a back three. We didn't even think about that was what he was going to do. In that time, it was just a back four, and no one really played anything different. So we came in, and I was in the team with a back three, obviously in the middle, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to be part of his plans here. He's not going to like me. I've gone from playing midfield to now he's got me in a back three. It was kind of, am I making up the numbers here a little bit? What's going on? So I thought to myself, I'll just train right every day. I'll make sure I get the best out of it. I'll do what I need to do. I'll learn from him and do what I need to do. And I remember getting on a plane to Austria. And we were in the Championship then, and I don't mean to sound big-headed or anything, but it was a normal plane with loads of people on, because that was what it was like. That was what it was like when I was in the Champ. So I remember sitting at the back of the plane. There was a seat by the window next to me, and I can see the manager walking down. But you know what it's like. If the manager sits next to you on the plane, you look like a bit of a kiss ass, don't you? That's what you look. Do you know, a little bit.
That's what Alan did all his career.
You obviously know what it's like. So as he's walking down the aisle, I'm thinking, oh no, don't sit next to me here. Oh, this seat's free, and I know the lads will be behind me, laughing their heads off and all that sort of thing. So as he's coming down, he went, Conor, I'm sat in there. So I thought, So he sits next to me, and honestly, the plane journey, it was like he scripted the next few years in that plane journey, if you know what I mean. It was crazy. So we sat down, he started telling me about, this is how I'm going to play. So that was when he mentioned about, I'm going to go forward with the back three. We're going to be compact, we're going to be together, we're going to counter hard, and we're going to be quick, and we're going to be this, we're going to be... And I was just like, wow. And the conversation was something I'd never experienced before as a young lad, just in terms of real football talk. And it was brilliant. I loved every moment of it. So he never told me then that I was going to be the one in the middle of a back three. I just started to get the picture during that pre-season that it was going to be me, and I made sure, like I said, I learned and I was open-minded going into it, and I made sure I listened and I hung off every word that he said. I'll be honest, because I loved how he went about his business, but I also loved the way he wanted to play as well and what he wanted to do with me.
Can I just ask about that position? Sorry, guys, because you say going from a midfield to a back three or a back four to a back three, and that position in the middle is very difficult. People think it's easy because you've got bodies around you, but you're the last man really who has to organise, who can see absolutely everything. How did you find that sort of we know you're a leader anyway, but in a completely different formation that you've not really played before, you know?
Yeah, like I said, mate, it was something where I was real open-minded when he came in. I made sure, like I said, I hung off every word. I listened to everything he said. I pulled him when I thought I was a little bit kind of out of my depth, or I was wondering what was going on, or different things. But I've always been a player who I read the game quicker than I am, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm not the fastest of players. I've never been quick. I've never been somebody who's explosive. Like you said, do you know what I mean? I've never had that explosiveness. So I've always had to kind of think about the game a little bit differently. I've got to kind of get an advantage somewhere else, because I'm not the fastest player in the world. So I've always been somebody who's liked to read the game, and I say study the game. I watch a lot of football. I watch an awful lot of football, so I always try and take the most out of each game I watch or each game I'm playing. So I always try to read the game as well as I could, and from that position you can read it. If you think about the game, you can read it a lot. So if your two centre-half partners are jumping in, you can be the one who covers round. You can read if somebody's going to go along with the body shape. Are they about to go along, so you're ready to run back, or whatever that is. So I've always been somebody who's kind of done that, but at the start it was tough. But I think because, like I said, I was open-minded to the situation. I was open-minded to playing back there. And because I was desperate to play for him, I knew the calibre of manager who was coming, and I was desperate to play for him. So I think that really helped me as well. And I just took every single training session on board to make myself better.
Was it on that plane that he made you captain? I don't mean as a pilot.
Yeah.
How long has it taken? It took him 20 minutes for your first pun, Gary. I'm disappointed in you.
Did you not see Harry step in? That was Harry's joke, that
was. Oh, brilliant. No, it wasn't. We had a club captain at the time, mate, in terms of Danny Bath, and he was fantastic. He was brilliant. He was Mr. Wolves at the time, and listen, I done everything he needed of me. I made sure I was there for him, and I helped the boys and different things. But I could feel in that year, obviously Danny was in and out of the team, so when Danny didn't play, I was captain, and I could feel I was gaining a little bit more responsibility at the club, and I loved it. I loved the feeling of it. I really did. But like I said, I was there to help Dan, and then obviously the following year, then Danny, I think, left. He went somewhere else, and that was when I was named captain, and one of the proudest moments of my life, to be named captain of a Premier League team. It was amazing.
Do you think he was hard done to at Spurs, Nuno? Didn't really happen for him there, or were you surprised that it didn't?
If I'm being completely honest now about the situation, I think Spurs probably came a little bit too soon. If I'm being honest, I think I think when you go to a big club like that, I think it's always 10 times tougher. I really do. I think that comes with the territory of going to a massive club. But I think he had a real tough few years at Wolves, and then he left at the end of the COVID year. And I know that was a tough year, not just for him, but for everybody. I think his family was still in Portugal and things like that. And people don't actually see this side of it. People just think, oh, you're a football manager and that's that. And, oh, you got another job, you've been offered Tottenham and he should take it. I actually think it came a little bit too soon for him because of how tough kind of being a football manager is and how tough them few years were. And then he finished on the COVID year, which I think was hard for everybody, especially when you've not got your family around you. You can't fly home. I think he was going from training to home and being on, and a lot of people don't see this side of it. So I think it probably came a little bit too soon. But I think if it came at a different time, maybe halfway through his tenure at Wolves, and he decided to take it, I think it might have been a little bit different because I honestly can't speak more highly of him. I think he's fantastic. Yeah.
What were his strengths as a coach, as a manager?
A big thing for me, mate, was sticking to the way he wants to play. I think that's so big, me, with managers and teams. And he was the first manager who kind of developed a real philosophy with a football club that I learned and I understood. And he painted pictures for you. Even though he was a foreign manager, he made things so simple for each individual player to know the roles and know what they were doing, that it became the norm to us every single training. And a lot of people ask me, was training repetitive and was it the same and did it get boring? And it never did, because we were doing the same things all the time, but we could see ourselves getting better. We were winning on a weekend and we couldn't wait for the games to start. So I think in terms of how simple he made his messages and how he stuck to his philosophy and his principles, and that never ever changed. If you think back to that Wolves team, I even look at Wolves now and they still play back five now. And I think that came from Nuno's era of really playing that. And I think of Wolves now, and I think of them being, and I don't know whether they'll want to be known as this, but I just think of Wolves being a back five even now in this moment in time. And I know they're playing it with Kilman, Dawson and Totti. I still watch a lot of them, I still support them. They're a fantastic football club. And I go back to that kind of era in terms of what he brought, and I think he really started that in terms of how he went about his business. He was brilliant, yeah. I
sense an unbelievable work ethic in you. I mean, you've had a great career. You've played for a lot of clubs. You've represented England at every level. You must have been in dressing rooms without naming names. I mean, the frustrating part of it is that you go and so many teammates, and you must look at them and think, if only you had a bit of graft or a bit of work like I did. You must have been frustrated so many times over your career and look at players without naming anyone.
Yeah, I think we're seeing it more and more. We're kind of how young people are developing now. I think how society is. We see a lot of social media and phones. And listen, social media can be fantastic. It can help. I'm on social media. It can be. But I just think with kind of how football's gone over the years, and I think it's changing year on year. I really do. And I completely agree with you. There's been so many times I'm sat there and I'm thinking, you've got so much more ability than me. You've got absolutely everything. You're fast, you're strong, you have this, you have that. You've got everything. You've got so much more ability. Just apply yourself. Go in and be ready to learn and get better and train how you play and all these sorts of things, and things I mentioned kind of with yourselves now. And I've seen it over and over the years, and it's frustrating. And you have conversations with people and you sit down, you have chats with people and you say, listen, just give a little bit more. You'll be in, you'll play every week. You've got everything. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of, some people can't actually take that in and really think about that situation, they're more interested in other things. And it's frustrating because, like I said, I think because the career is so short, you have to squeeze everything you can out of it, because it's a career that can change your life, can change your family's life, but it's the best job in the world. There's nothing that compares to this job in my eyes. I love every moment of it, yeah.
I can take you back decades and decades, Conor. It's always been the same. There's so many talented players. No, genuinely, so many talented players. I remember going back to Spurs, and I thought I was just I'd been away in Barcelona, I came back to Spurs, and you start to think, I can make an impact on young players. You can have a little word with them, and I can remember a young lad at Spurs. I can't remember his name, and I just offered a little bit of advice, and he's gone, "Oh, fuck off."
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, really? I mean, I would have died for the advice of a senior professional when I was a young player. And I just thought, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that is not, I don't think that's common, but there are a lot of players that you see. And I only went to speak to him because I saw talent and I saw hope for him. I saw an incredible career. And needless to say, his career petered out and he did nothing. And the one thing you want to say to young players, isn't it? Christ, give yourself the best possible chance to succeed.
Oh, without a doubt. And do you know what you're saying there? It's not that common. I think it probably is common. Maybe they don't tell you to fuck off, but maybe they don't tell you that. But maybe you look at it and you can see you're speaking to them, and they're looking at you, and as they're looking at you, you're thinking, this isn't going in. This isn't happening. And then you go out to train, and it's the exact same thing in training. Do you know what I mean? Nothing really changes. So that's all I would say. I think to young players coming through, exactly like yourself, to squeeze everything out of the career you can, because everything's great when you're 25 and people have got this and they've got that and everything's sorted, everything's fine. But then you hit an age and you go, oof, where am I at now? What am I going to do now?
How do you change that mindset though, Coady? Because I've talked about this. I know we talked about bursting on the scene, having a bit of banter and all that, but it's difficult when you're in it. Because I've been there. I've been the player that everybody wants, earning all the money, and down tools. I'd open admit it. I down tools because I thought I was already there. I was stronger. I was faster. I was getting assists. I was getting man of them. It's difficult to see it when you're in it, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say to you, keep on telling them, use people as examples, you know, because I do regret it. A lot of mine came through injury, but it is hard.
Did you have players talking to you, Micah, saying those sort of things? Be careful, give yourself the best chance. Did you have that?
Whilst he was driving his fucking Ferrari, yeah.
Are you taking a piss, guys?
No, I'm serious.
I had my DB9 convertible. It'd be £3 million house. You think I'm listening to Danny Mills telling me to calm down? Get the fuck.
Well, maybe you should have. You see? Oh dear. Any of our young listeners, please don't use Micah as an example.
You see, Micah, if only you had listened. Where have you just come back from Vegas? Where did it all go wrong?
Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Brilliant. What was the highlight at Wolves, Conor? Qualifying for Europe. He finished 7th twice in the Premier League, which was terrific. And European football, possibly. Yeah,
massive. There's loads of highlights, mate. There's loads of things, like even going back to kind of the promotion year and how we went about it and what we done and how we played. That was a brilliant year. But then I think the second year in the Premier League for me, we qualified obviously for Europe year one and finished 7th, and we got to an FA Cup semi-final. The FA Cup semi-final is the biggest regret of my life, because we were 2-0 up against Watford and we ended up getting beat 3-2, and it's the biggest. I've never watched a game back, and I always tend to watch my games back and have a little look at where I can get better or where I went wrong or what I can do, whatever it is.
When you say the biggest regret, you blame yourself, or? No,
not necessarily. I feel like I'm a massive part of it because I played in the game, but we were so comfortable, mate. Honestly, we were 75 minutes, we were 2-0 up. For me, it was the perfect performance. We'd done everything right. We'd listened to the gaffer. We'd listened to how we wanted to go about the game. We're 2-0 up. So to lose the game 3-2 after extra time, after being 2-0 up after 75, was ridiculous. And Gerard Deulofeu come on, and obviously you all remember, he was a fantastic player. But he came on. He was one of them players who came on. We're talking about there. He came on with a cob on. He came on a little bit angry because it must have been because he didn't start or whatever. And he came on. You could tell he had this kind of, I'm going to show you there. to their manager. It was one of them, do you know what I mean? He came on with like a little bit of he was ready to go, and he changed the game. So that's the biggest regret. But kind of going back to the highlights in terms of our second year in the Premier League, we had European football. And I remember going into the Europa League, so we went in like, at the first qualifying stage, all that sort of stuff. I remember loads of people saying to me, it's going to be so hard, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be that, and you're going to be knackered by Christmas, and you're going to be... And I remember sitting here thinking, nah, I'm not having that. I've dreamed all my life of playing in Europe, and now I've got someone telling me that Burnley a couple of years, I think, struggled, and loads of people were telling me, oh, Burnley struggled in it, and they ended up fighting relegation. I'm thinking, nah, I'm not having it. I'm just not having that. There's not a chance. Like, European football is the greatest thing. You guys will know as well in terms of what you can do and how you can go about it and play against different teams. I remember going in the first qualifying round, we played Crusaders in Belfast. I remember going here playing this little ground on AstroTurf, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was brilliant, and kind of doing that season again, we finished 7th, and it was a strange season because we actually got more points than the year before, but missed out on Europe. So I think we hit 59 points, where the year before we got 56 and got Europe, and then the year after we finished 7th, didn't get you. It was ridiculous, and we were devastated. But kind of travelling around Europe and going to the different places and getting to the quarterfinals like we did and playing Sevilla and all this sort of stuff, it was incredible. So I'd give anything to kind of go back to that year and just relive it again, because it was absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, I loved it.
Conor, you were a Liverpool fan growing up, and you ended up at Everton for a period of time.
Yeah.
Was that odd?
No, and it's funny because I get this question all the time, and I go out in the streets and I take my boys to school, and everyone just goes, "You were a Liverpool fan, weren't you?" And I get it all the time, and you fellas will know in terms of playing football, and I try and explain this to them all the time, because people just think, "Oh, you're a Liverpool fan," and that's that. And I get it. I grew up a huge Liverpool fan, and I'm not afraid to say that I was massive. And I also, the year we got promoted with Wolves, you obviously then start playing against them quite frequently in different things, and I was that desperate to win. Not just because it was Liverpool, but I was the same every game. I was just desperate. I had this feeling. I switch on to a game days before thinking, right, what do we need to do? How do we win? How do we go about it? Because I have a little bit of a fear of losing. I hate the thought of losing. I hate the thought of letting people down or whatever it is. So when it came to the Liverpool game, I was no different. I was just desperate to win. So that feeling of actually supporting a team can't stay. It can't physically stay. It can't be part here, because I'm going to give everything I've got to beat them, to win that game of football, whether it be at Anfield or Molineux or King Power or Goodison or whatever it was. I had that feeling of wanting to win. So when it came to being given the opportunity to sign for Everton, the Everton one was strange, and I come out and said it last few weeks in terms of how I never expected to leave Wolves. That was something I never, ever expected to do. I loved my time there. I was captain. Everything was great. And I'd been away with England that summer, and kind of being away was something where I came back a little bit later. And as I came back, I could feel something wasn't right. Something wasn't right at Wolves there. I wasn't kind of playing with the team he was working on at the time. Bruno Lage was the manager. And I wasn't kind of playing, and I was thinking, oh, this is a big year for me, because the World Cup was in December. And I was desperate to be in that squad for the World Cup. It was something where probably I'll never ever go to one again. And I was absolutely desperate. Playing for England was the biggest privilege I've ever had in my life. So I was coming back for pre-season, looking that far ahead, thinking, oh, if I'm not in the team now, and I don't start the season, and then I don't get into the first international break, and I'm not in the international team, then that's going to be hard to get to. So I was thinking so far ahead. So it was a strange one with Wolves that summer. So I ended up moving. Wolves ended up doing what they'd done, and I got the opportunity to sign for Everton, and it was brilliant. I loved it. And loads of people say now, how did you do that? You supported Liverpool and growing up, but I played against Liverpool that many times. I was that desperate to win. That support from kind of by no choice of my own. It kind of just goes because I'm that desperate to win against the team I grew up supporting, so I can't really support them.
It's funny with football, isn't it? I mean, I moved around a number of clubs, and as soon as you go to a new club, and people say, I'd say it when, fans sometimes have a pop at football, it's like that kiss the badge, for example, and they think, oh, you don't really care about the club. But when you join a club, you instantaneously become a fan of that club, and that's all that matters, isn't it? I mean, I left Leicester and I went to Everton, and immediately you felt that rivalry against Liverpool, and you were part of it. And you forget about, I mean, I'd followed Leicester since I was 7 years old, and I played for them for 8 years, and then I left, and all I cared about was Everton. And when I went to Barcelona, you don't like Real Madrid, and then you came back to Tottenham, and you don't like Arsenal for a bit. And it's mad, isn't it, how you just change like that, and it doesn't. But what you'll find, I think, at the end of your career, and we've had this conversation with Alan as well, that your support for your original club will probably come back, and then it becomes the be all and end all. And as you get older, you think to yourself, I won't care so much. but you care even more.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can imagine. And I think you're exactly right, Gary. Honestly, I think you're exactly right. And I think if you don't do that to it with a club, I don't think you're giving them your all. I think if you go there and you're a little bit half-hearted and I know it might sound a little bit strange, but you don't throw yourself into everything that club's about, then I think there's a problem, because that club's giving you the right to play for them. You're just a player for that football club. The most important thing is that football club at that time, and you've got to go and give absolutely everything you've got. So having the opportunity to kind of play for Everton, a lot of my family members are Everton fans. You'll probably also know people in Liverpool are split. You've got Everton fans, Liverpool fans, all the same. So when I signed for Everton, then people in my family were proud as punch. It was unbelievable for them. But then the other side of my family were going, "What are you doing? Why are you going there? And what are you playing at here?" But to be given the opportunity, and I spoke to Frank Lampard in the summer, and he was amazing. Honestly, he was brilliant. And obviously, people look at his time at Everton and how it ended. But him as a person, and how he kind of portrayed himself, and how he helped me as a person and as a footballer, and what he was like, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Honestly, I took him at first hand, and he was a bit of a hero of mine growing up, as he was for probably everybody else, being an England midfielder and how good he was. So to have the opportunity to play under him at that time was a real privilege, and I loved it. I loved my time at Everton. Absolutely loved it.
Why do you think it's not quite worked out managerially for Frank so far? And do you think he's got possibly what it takes?
I do. Just from working with him, kind of how he went about his business with us, and how he worked and how he spoke and how he wanted to play. I actually think at the time, obviously, and listen, Everton are still in a tough time, and I'm praying that they get out of the situation they're in, and we're obviously seeing things, and everyone's hoping to get points back, or whatever it is that's going to happen and going to come out, and I think everyone's hoping for the best outcome. But I think at the time it was a tough job. We actually started the season really well under him. He was setting us up in a bit of a back five, and then we changed to a back four. I remember for the Leeds game we drew 1-1 away, and we started off really well. We beat Palace, we beat Southampton. We were racking up results, and defensively we were solid. We were together, and we were scoring good goals, and things just changed in the season. It's actually quite hard to put my hand on, but going back to kind of Frank himself, I just thought as a person, as a coach, I thought he was brilliant. The people around him as well. So I just hope he gets another opportunity and shows kind of how good he is.
What was I mentioned it earlier about you playing at every level for England, but to be part of that squad that sort of went so close. Played a year later, of course, wasn't it, in the Euros? But you were part of that squad, weren't you? A huge part of that squad.
Yeah, and do you know what, mate? I think you guys will tell me this. It's the best feeling ever playing for your country. It was the greatest thing I've ever done. I loved every moment of it, and even just going away. And a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you went and never played, and the Euros and the World Cup, you went and never played." I wasn't really that bothered. I wasn't. I was desperate to play. I was desperate like any other footballer. I was the exact same when I was playing than when I wasn't. I was the same. I used to tell myself in training when I used to go and about go and push the lads. Make sure you're ready. If you need it, if there's an injury, if there's something, just make sure you're ready and push the lads as much as I can. And I'd done that. I remember in the Euros, obviously going so close, and there's loads of things we could tell from the Euros. And I think everybody loved watching that team and loved how we went about our business that summer. And that was one of the greatest summers in my life. But I remember one of the first training sessions, we'd obviously play Croatia in the first game. We won 1-0 and we trained the day after. And them sessions, kind of when the lads haven't played, and lads could be a bit down and a bit mopey and a bit sulky. You know, you all know what they're like, and it's, I've not played, and there's this and there's that, and it's, come on, get a grip of yourself, let's train, let's play, let's do it properly. And we trained the next morning. I remember it was a real good session, but we had good pros there. Jordan Henderson was there, who pushed people, and he wasn't playing, and he pulled everybody at the end of that training session just on his own, just a squad of lads who were out there, and he said, that's how we have to train every single day. If you don't play, you train like that, because you push the lads, because if you get your opportunity and you go in and you don't perform, you'll get killed. So you train like that every single day. If you don't play, this is how you train, and this is how we push it. And that for me, I knew what a guy he was anyway, but that for me was just like, yeah, that's proper. That's proper. That's how we have to do things. And I think that's what summed up that squad, and that's why people love that squad. And you see that squad's evolved over the years, and I can't wait for the Euros this summer, because I just hope and I pray and I think England have got a real good chance of going all the way.
I do. Tell us the moment when you were first called up for England. How did that happen?
Yeah, I'm sure we've all got that moment kind of in our head, and when it first happened, I certainly have. Yeah, I remember I'd been away. It was the end of the COVID year, it was, and I'd been during COVID, and I'd been away, and I just got back, and I was out on the front with my boys. I've got 3 boys. I was out on the front with my boys, and it was one of the, I was taking my little boy over to his friends, and as I'm taking him over, he was playing up a bit, like kids do, like boys do. So he was playing up a bit. I mean, I could feel my phone going in my pocket, the vibration in my pocket. So I thought, oh no, I'm leaving it. My head was chocker, taking the kids over to my mates, all this sort of thing. So anyway, I looked at my phone. As I looked at my phone, I had a missed call and then a WhatsApp. So I clicked on the WhatsApp, and as I clicked on the WhatsApp, it said, "Hi Conor, it's Gareth. Can you give me a call back?" And I was flustered. I was sweating. I was like, "Oh my god!" So I just ran home. I got my little boy, and I ran home. I went back home, and I knocked on the door. Mrs. answered. I said, "Take Freddie a minute. Gareth Southgate needs me to ring him." And Amy just like went white. She was like, "Oh my god!" So I rang him just there, and then he was brilliant. He was top. He just said, first off, it was one of them. How's your summer? How's the? And I'm thinking, get to the point.
Get to it. Yeah, forget the foreplay. Go right.
So I'm thinking, you not just rang me to see how old he was you? Surely you're ringing for something else. So it was kind of, it was great, sound. And then he said, listen, we've obviously been monitoring you for a few years, that and the other. Would love you to come in and kind of work with us, and we'll see how we go. He said, we're going to play a back three in a few of the games, and we want to push it, and I'm playing in the middle of a back three, and listen, it was the best phone call I've ever had in my life, and I think it will be the best I've ever had in my life going into the future as well, because in that moment I'd dreamed of and I'd worked for, and I used to use were probably the same as well in terms of, I used to sit there when the England squads were coming out, even though I knew you'd get a text or a phone call if you were getting called, I used to sit there and watch the squads coming out, just thinking, what maybe I might be in it, even though I knew I was never going to be in it because I've not had a text or a phone call. But that was what it was like. I've always loved watching England. I've always dreamt of being a part of it. And I reiterate what I said before in terms of that's been the best moment of my whole life, to put on an England shirt and play for England was absolutely incredible, yeah.
Hey guys, how times have changed, eh? WhatsApp for Conor, teletext for me, the fucking pigeon for you, out so you found out.
I got a phone call. I was at home on a Monday, and it was a landline. Obviously, back then there were no mobile phones at that point. My mum answered the phone. She said, "It's Gordon Milne, who was the Leicester manager." He said, "It's Gordon Milne on the phone for you." I thought, "Oh Christ, what have I done wrong? Oh God!" So I answered it, and he said, "Get yourself a toothbrush, come to the club, pick up your boots. Bobby Robson's been on the phone. He said you're in the England squad." And it is magical, isn't it? How did it happen for you too, Alan?
Teletext for me. Teletext.
It was actually a teletext.
Yeah, that's what a teletext. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were joking.
No, it was. Yeah, teletext.
I can tell you, man, mine was not a fucking picture. Micah, you?
I was in the Barbers, wasn't I?
Of course you were. You're always in the bloody Barbers.
I was in the Barbers. I've done this story before. It might have been on a top 10, but I was in the Barbers in Moss Side. I was chilling. I was eating my Caribbean food on a Friday night.
You were eating while you were in the Barbers?
Well, you have a little...
A barber/restaurant.
You need some seasoning, guys. You need to come with me just for a weekend. I'll take you around all the places. You know what I mean?
Love to.
You need some seasoning. Anyway, so I'm in the chair, and then I get a call, but it's withheld number. They always used to do that. I used to hate with it, and I never used to answer them. And then someone said, it was McLaren who rang me and said, "Oh, Micah, just let you know that you're going to be the next England squad." But I'm only 18 at this time, so I'm like, fuck off, and put the phone down. Do you remember? I told you.
Yeah,
and then he
rang
back, and I was like, oh my God, I've just put the phone down on the England manager. What a fucking idiot. Seriously.
There's only any point taking me to the Barbers, Mike. There's no point taking Alan. What about the moment you pull on the England shirt and you actually step onto the pitch, Conor?
Oh, yeah, again, a moment you'll remember, a moment I'll never forget. It was against Denmark in Copenhagen's ground, and yeah, the moment I found out I was playing was obviously the day before when we do the team, and I knew I was in it, and yeah, it was a pinch me moment. It was a moment that I never thought I'd get. Even being in the England squad, you're that close to it and you just want to grab it, but you still think to yourself in your head, am I going to get it? Is it going to come? Am I going to be part of it? And to get the opportunity to start against a good Denmark team as well, by the way, they were decent. And like I said, it was one of them strange international breaks where we'd just come off like being off. That moment was weird, weren't it? That COVID time was absolutely crazy. So it was that strange moment, and just to go out and walk out with the players I was walking out with, and Harry Kane leading you out, and all this sort of stuff was absolutely unbelievable. And I remember after we drew 0-0, it was absolutely, I'll remember it forever. You guys probably won't remember it, but I'll remember it forever. We got a clean sheet as a defender, and it was what it was. I remember coming off doing a couple of interviews, and I come in and the lads gave us a clap, just because you always done it with the lads who made the debuts and different things. And that moment and that feeling. If I could just bottle it up and bring it out now and again and show my kids when they're older, it'd be absolutely brilliant. And like I said, a moment I'll never forget. Yeah.
Sometimes fans throw it at players, don't they, with England? They don't really care. That doesn't mean that much to them, and all this. I don't think it's so much now, but going back a number of years, probably in Gareth's early days and just before that, he's obviously turned things round in terms of the public perception of the team. But players really care, don't they?
That feeling of going away, honestly, that Euros and all the camps I've been involved in and how I've done things in the World Cup and the feeling of being with the lads for so long, you loved it. You was away for the Euros. I think we were away for 6 weeks, and it would have been brilliant because if it was a normal year and we could all see our families, we could have had our families and different things. But we were away from our families for so long, we didn't see them. But the feeling was just unbelievable. And you obviously hear stories of the past of, I don't know if it was around your era, Meeks or whatever, and you hear all these stories of lads sitting together from the clubs and the rivalries and all this sort of thing. And I understand it in terms of rivalries, but when you go, you've got to get that out of your head because you're going playing for your country. You've got to. There's so many people depending on you. That team that kind of you was involved in, Meeks, was unbelievable. Some of the players that was involved, and I've been lucky enough to be part of this England squad, which some of the players that are involved are unbelievable as well. But the feeling of being together and spending time together and enjoy, you're very rarely in your room. I hear stories of people going back to the room and spending all day. I don't understand why you do that. Go and have a coffee with the boys and, I don't know, play PlayStation or do what you want to do. Go and watch whatever's on the telly, Love Island or whatever's on the telly. Go and watch whatever you want. I don't know.
Love Island?
but
is that what players watch now, is it?
A lot of players watch it, yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I watched it last night.
Oh, well, we know why you're watching it, Micah.
You'd go well on there, Meeks.
I know you're just before 31, aren't you? Your 31st birthday. What have you started a plan for after your career, or what have you done?
Well, before you answer this, mate, I've seen you I've heard you on the radio. I've seen you on Sky, mate. You need to hold your own. Let me have a little bit more of the time because I know you're coming for my job, mate. And he's already excellent. So just hold your own. You can play till 40. Easy, Conor. Come on.
No, listen, I'm not sitting here going, I've got this age in mind to finish on. I go for as long as I possibly can. I think first and foremost, mate, I'd love to do it with you. I think that's something I'd love to do it with you. But no, it's something I have started thinking because I think for one, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy obviously this side of it, the radio stuff, the broadcasting stuff. I've done my first coaching badge as well. Now I'm not fully set on either way, but I am enjoying the broadcasting stuff at the minute in terms of the radio and the TV and. Coming on here with you guys has been fantastic. I've loved it, and I think it's something where I think I'm better getting as much in as I can now, as long as I enjoy it, because I love doing it. I could speak to you guys about footy all day long. Honestly, I could. It's something I love doing. So I have kind of started thinking about it, but not to a point where I'm going, right, I'm going to hit this age and I'm going to finish. That's me done. I just go as long as I can, and as long as I'm enjoying doing this, which I'm loving, and I can kind of give things to people, then I'll keep on doing it. Yeah.
Let's take you back, if I may, to England and Gareth Southgate. Now, obviously, being England manager is a highly pressurised job, and everyone, I think, thinks they've got a view about the England team, and they should be this and they should be that. What are his strengths?
I think first and foremost, he's an incredible person. I think take away football for a minute. He's England manager, and we all judge him on kind of being England manager. Him as a person and how he deals with players and how he can speak to players and his ability to bring a group together that don't play together every week, I think goes unnoticed. I think it's absolutely brilliant kind of how he does that. Now, he's obviously got a real close relationship with Steve Holland as well, and Steve Holland is brilliant at the same time, and I think having kind of them two together and how they work and how they do things and what they're both like on the pitch and the roles they both have, but then also what they've both like off the pitch, I think is brilliant. So I think having Steve with him as well is fantastic. But in terms of how the gaffer approaches it with players and what he's like on the team and how he keeps people in the loop in terms of if you're on an international break, he'll keep you kind of informed on, right, you'll miss the first game, but you'll be involved in the second game, or you'll play in the second game. And I think that for a player, I think it just fills you with a little bit of confidence. It fills you with a little bit of clarity. So I think in terms of how he deals with players and his ability to bring players together who haven't played together week in, week out, and every England squad, it's funny because every time an England squad goes out, you see all these things of he should be in it or he should be in it, and we all have opinions. Everybody has opinions because we all want players maybe from our own clubs in the squad, or we want this player in the squad, or that player may not be in the squad and we think he should be there. So you're always going to get that. But I think his ability just to kind of ride with it and take the kind of hits or whatever you want to call it, and just keep on producing teams to keep on producing results. Like I said before, I can't wait for this summer, because I honestly think, and I don't want to speak too soon, I don't want to seem too confident or nothing like that, it's nothing to do with that, but I'm really excited for the team that are going to go there and have a real good chance, because I think we all believe it from the last two tournaments and kind of where England are at now.
They've got very close, and there's no question about that. I think the one criticism people do perhaps level at Gareth is that he's a tad cautious, and some people say there's so much talent in this side, give them their wings, let them fly. What do you think?
I completely agree in terms of the talent. There's so much talent within the squad, and listen, I know what we're all talking. We're all talking about the players going forward and how they go about the business, and we all have our teams in our head that we want to play and how we want to go about it. And he's no different. He's a man who's looking at the England team and trying to produce results and trying to produce a tournament win. And for me, I look at kind of what he's done in the last few tournaments, and okay, you look at the World Cup and going out to France. I actually think on a different day we beat France, and I think a lot of people agree with me in terms of how the game went about and how it was and how it finished. But in terms of what we've done, I can go off kind of how he's approached the last two tournaments, and for me, I can't fault him as a player who's played in it and been there and being involved with it. I think how he goes about his business is really good. But I think a massive part of the last few tournaments is how we've reacted to obviously losing the final. We've gone again and performed then in the build-up to the next tournament, and the same after the World Cup. And that's what's exciting me about this summer, is in terms of how the boys have approached that kind of spell from the World Cup to now to really push on. And in terms of Gareth and how he goes about it, only he'll know how he wants to go about his team and how he wants to play it. But we'll all have opinions going into the World Cup. But I think he's in the best position he's probably been in with his team now in terms of players going into it. I think the world's his oyster in terms of how he wants to go about it and how he wants to play.
Obviously, all supporters were desperately disappointed when we lost to France. What was it like inside that dressing room? Try and describe it for us.
I'll try and paint a picture of it, and it's the same for the Euros dressing room after the final. The Euros one was a little bit different, obviously, with it being at home and obviously losing on pens. We were so close in terms of how we started the game and how we went about it, matching Italy in terms of playing five at the back, and then the goal we actually scored in the Euros, I'll go back to the World Cup in a minute, but the goal we actually scored in the Euros was actually something we worked on, playing full-back to full-back, so Trippier crossing the ball and Luke Shaw finishing. So actually seeing the goal after 3 minutes, we were all sat there going, oh my God, this is exactly what we're working on, this is it, we're going to win the Euros, this is it. And then after the game, sitting there, everybody being, it was horrible, kind of how the tournament went. And then Prince William came in with Prince George and gave the lads a bit of a hug and a little bit of a pick-me-up of how proud the country was. And then the World Cup after the France game was very, very similar. Obviously, the boys kind of consoling Harry was the biggest thing in terms of obviously missing the penalty. I don't think I'm out of turn saying that in terms of coming in. It was just quiet. It was something the manager spoke, Steve spoke. H obviously spoke because of the character he is as well, and even though we didn't have to, he spoke about the situation. And
H being Harry Kane.
Yeah, Harry Kane, yeah. He obviously spoke about the situation because of the captain he is and the character he is, and it was something where that's that. It's football. We've all been part of it. We've all been part of good results, bad results, and tough results to take. So it was something where, again, we spoke about getting back on the horse and kicking on and making sure we're right for the Euros, which is coming this time around. So it was an horrendous place to be. It's horrible in them situations. You guys will know what I'm saying when you've been part of a bad result, and we've all been part of them. But it's important that you learn with it, you learn from it, you live with it, and you use it as kind of motivation to go on and succeed in other ways.
Which of the England players, tell us some of them. I mean, there's so much talent in there now. Who excites you most?
We do a session. When we train, we do a session, and I don't know if you have done it in terms of you have a goal on each end of the box, right? and the gaffer and Steve split the box in half, so you have 3 defenders against 3 attackers in one half of the box, and then 3 defenders against 3 attackers in the other half of the box. But we're not allowed in the other half. Do you know what I mean? We have to stay in our own half, so we just have to defend. That is the hardest session I've ever done in my life, when you're coming up against Phil Foden, Harry Kane, Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford, all these sorts of players, and you're going, oh my God, it is the hardest session in the whole world, mate, to believe me. So some of the players there and the way they train and how they go about the business is unbelievable. But it's hard to sit here and pick out one. It really is. It's hard because there's that much quality. And we mentioned it before about kind of the embarrassment of riches the gaffer's got going forward and how he's going to utilise them all. Even somebody like James Maddison, who now is playing absolutely unbelievable. But his character and what he's like around camp, which I think goes unnoticed as well, in terms of what he brings to a camp, is absolutely unbelievable. So it's trying to fit someone like him.
That's quite interesting, because there's that perception, wasn't there, a few years ago when he was, I think there was just out the squad in ill, and he ended up going with his dad, I think, to a casino or something. And then there was all this thing about his attitude. But it strikes me that he's a real thinker on the game.
Oh, massive. And he loves the game. He loves football. Absolutely loves football. He's obsessed with football. And he could probably sit here and talk to you about football all day long. And I think everybody in terms of the career or people in terms of the career, they make mistakes at times, and people do. And I think being footballers, it gets highlighted a lot more because you can get pictured and things happen and you end up somewhere the way you shouldn't be and you don't need to be and you don't want to be there. And things happen and they get out there. And listen, I think Mad has made a mistake. I think he took his punishment by not being in the squad for a few years. I think that was something that he took. And I think he understood kind of coming back into the squad how much it meant to him, what it meant to his career in terms of playing for England, and that he wanted to be there. He was desperate to be there. And he was the same when we went to the World Cup. His character around the place and his ability to kind of be a part of everyone's group and go from one group to another. One day he could be playing PlayStation, then he could be playing darts with somebody, then we played a game called Werewolf, he'd be in the middle of Werewolf, all this sort of stuff. I think his ability to do that, and then now you see having his move to Tottenham, he's really opened up in terms of the gaffer's got a situation where I think everybody or a lot of people are hoping he's in the team. So I think he's the same. I think he's learned from his mistake, he's moved on, and he understands how big it is now to play for his country.
I cannot let you go without asking you about Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
What's he like?
The best. Honestly, I've never known, mate. Is he 19, 20 now? 19, 20, whatever his age is. I remember I was in his first squad. I was in his first squad, and when he first came in, it was kind of, I think he'd only made one appearance for the 21s, and he came into the senior squad. Now, it was unbelievable. I remember his first session, and he megged me, right? He megged me, but he megged me. This is no word of a lie, right, fellas? He megged me in terms of, he should never have megged me. So we played this game with the little goals, and I'm a defender, so I defend. I'm a bit of a cheat. I defend the little goals. I go and stand in front of the little goals and say, "You're not scoring. Go to another goal. You're not scoring here." So he's got his back to me, and as he's got his back to me, you've all probably seen it where you drag the ball around, and as you drag it around, you keep it to your foot, and you flick it through someone's legs. Now we've done that, and they had a camera, so there's cameras all around England training because they post it on social media and all that sort of stuff. And as he's done it to me, he's flicked it through my legs and scored. So I stood there and gone, it was impossible to do, and I don't know how he's done it. And as I've turned around, the camera's on me. And as the camera's on me, I've just gone, don't you dare put that fucking on social media. I started swearing, and I started just so they didn't put it on social media, because it was just like this 18-year-old kid's come out of nowhere, and he's just megging me like there's no tomorrow. And it was just, from there, he's obviously gone on to do what he's done. We all see what he's doing with Real Madrid, but what a person, an even better player, and just absolutely incredible all round. And listen, I think we're going to build this England team around him, aren't we, for the next 10, 15 years, which is a real exciting thing to think about.
He's the sort of player that you think might just be the difference that will drag England to perhaps success and finally getting that trophy after such a long wait.
Yeah, and do you know what? Another thing just to add to that, I think having the experience of the World Cup and being a major player at the World Cup, I think will stand him in massive stead. He was obviously a huge player at the World Cup, and how he went about his business at the World Cup and what everyone loved from him was unbelievable. But I just think having that experience and obviously getting his move to Real Madrid, I get it, it's part of a massive club in club football, but that feeling of playing for your country and kind of the country hanging on to you, I think we're all hanging on to him to take us to where we need to be, and to have that. And he's a player who can accept that responsibility. He's so mature in what he does and how he goes about his business. He's an incredible person. He really is.
Conor, thank you very much for giving us so much time. It's been absolutely fascinating talking to you. Continued success. I hope you get back into the Leicester team and drive us back into the Premier League by the end of the season. I imagine you're pretty confident of that, aren't you?
We're hoping so. We've obviously put ourselves in a good position, mate. And I know you're a huge Leicester fan, so the goal is to get up to get to where we need to be as quick as possible. That is the goal. We've said it all season. So huge last few months. The hardest part of the season is coming up, and we need to make sure we do it for you guys and for all the supporters. Yeah, but thanks for having me on, fellas. It's been a real pleasure, honestly, to be on here with you.
Brilliant. You're awesome, man. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, you're a credit to our sport, Conor. Thank you very much indeed, and get promoted. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Top man, Conor.
That's it from the rest is football for this week. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Thank you.